Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, everybody. We are about to start our program for this evening, so if you're still standing or still have to catch a drink or something, please can we finish that up and settle down, because we are about to start. The Deputy Minister has arrived. So could we please all take our seats and settle down? Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. I will request that we all stand as we welcome our host for the evening, the Deputy Minister of the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, Ms. Nomalungelo Gina, and her special guests. I promise you, she's here. She is coming. Whilst we're waiting, let me just take the opportunity to tell you all how wonderful you look tonight, and hoping that you will enjoy the evening and all its splendor. Always a fabulous time when we're celebrating our achievements, and I'm a big proponent of celebrating every little achievement. I'm that person. I will celebrate any little step forward, no matter how small, because I think it's in celebrating the small achievements that we get to appreciate the big ones when we eventually get there. So congratulations to everybody who will be receiving the awards this evening. And with that, here comes the Deputy Minister, Ms. Nomalungelo Gina, and her special guests. Oh, there she is. Ladies and gentlemen, may we please remain standing, just waiting for the entourage to come through. And welcome, Deputy Minister and all esteemed guests. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll remain standing as we sing along to the national anthem of the Republic of South Africa. Thank you so much, and you may be seated, ladies and gentlemen. And just before we get into the formal part of the program, I'd like to call on stage James, I think it is, who is the Lodge Safety Officer, just to come and talk to us about safety protocols for this evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Fry. I'm the Safety Officer for Imvelo. Please do take note of the following. We have our bathrooms on my right side, and we have our team there just to show where to go, gentlemen and ladies. In terms of emergency exit, we do have two, which we used now as our entrance, and we also have to this side, and we also have our emergency assembling point just after the security guard house there. For any emergency, we have Mr. Tepo, who's wearing the safety vest to make sure that he's around to make sure that everything it is fine. And our security guards are outside making sure that everything is safe. And we are here stand by to make sure that everything is fine. Do enjoy your evening, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, James. And with that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2025 South African Women in Science Awards. And these awards, of course, have been going for many years. And this year, particularly auspicious because it marks the 20th anniversary of these awards. And it is, of course, the flagship initiative of the Department of Science, Technology, and Innovation, and it brings together, as it has for so many years, women in science and research, and it's a moment to celebrate, it's a moment to recognize, and just a moment to come together as women across the field of science. I'm Sakina Kamwendo, and I'll be your program director for this evening, and to my right, a sign language interpreter, Charity Morrison, and she'll be alternating with Pulane Matetsa. And those will be the people making sure that everyone in the room, and of course, everyone who's watching us via the SABC platforms. We are streaming on SABC right now. So if you have someone at home and they couldn't make it here, please feel free to tell them to log into SABC Plus. If you haven't downloaded it, then you're missing out. So SABC Plus, we are streaming this on the YouTube channel, SABC, and of course, tomorrow morning again, we will pick up of this. We will also be dipping in live to the SABC 2 news program, and of course, SABC News 404. And we will be taking some of the speeches live this evening as well. If time permits, because we're running slightly late, we will obviously be showcasing some of the awards part of the ceremony as well. So just to settle everyone down and settle the nerves, because I'm sure for the winners, there's excitement there, but the nerves also jangling. So we're going to start by serving some starters, and just to line the stomach so we don't have anyone fainting or, you know, at least feeling faint or anything like that later on. So we're going to start with the starters that will be served right now. And just a reminder, if you had indicated when you RSVP'd that you would like a halal or vegetarian meal, please just indicate that to your waiter. So we'll give you a few minutes to settle in, settle down, have a starter, and then we'll get on with the rest of the program. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed your starters, and I'm aware that some of you may have just been served, so please feel free to go ahead and enjoy your starters. And just a reminder once again that the event is being live streamed on the SABC platform, and they will be coming to us shortly as soon as we get into the speeches this evening. That is, of course, the SABC News channel who will be streaming this live. Now, let me welcome formally to tonight's proceedings our very esteemed guests, and starting with the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Science, Technology and Innovation, Ms. Tsakane Shiviti. We also have with us Councillor Theodora Musala, the MMC responsible for local economic development and tourism here in the City of Roses, and she's representing the Executive Mayor of Mangaung Metropolitan Municipality, Councillor Gregory Ntatisi. We also have the Special Advisor of Minister Nzimande, Dr. Ngaba Ngandela, Director General of the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Mlungi Sikele. A warm welcome also to Senior Advisor, STI at Auda NAPAD, Professor Brando Okolo. L'Oreal South Africa, represented here this evening by Ms. Michelle Hololo. The late Dr. Ivy Matsepe Kasaburi's family members, Ms. Dinah Koza and Ms. Ntsiki Matlawe. Rectors, Vice Chancellors of universities, Minister and the Deputy Minister, special guests, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to all of you, as well as the women that we will be celebrating here tonight. And I think for them, a warm round of applause for the wonderful work that they do. Now, as I said earlier, this flagship program for the department is one that I was saying to the Deputy Minister, perhaps doesn't get the sort of recognition that it deserves, but it's up to all of us to make sure that we actually put the word out there. It's been 20 years of celebrating South African women in science, but of course, if we don't tell the story, if we don't put it out there, it's as good as it didn't happen if people don't know what we are doing. So we need to find ways to make sure that people actually know the wonderful work that is being done by our scientists and researchers in this country, and especially the women that are represented here this evening. Now, the department took a strategic decision to rotate the awards, to move it across the country to all provinces so that there's inclusivity when it comes to the celebration, the recognition of achievement, and also just making sure that there's visibility and we recognize the women doing this wonderful work. So we had Polokwane host, and then it was followed by Nelson Mandela Bay in 2019, Durban with a proud host of this event in 2023. Last year we were in Mbombela, and this year the City of Roses. And did you smell the roses coming in? The room really did smell beautiful this evening. So we are here in the Free State in Bloemfontein for the 2025 South African Women in Science Awards. Now, the theme for this year, 2025 SAWiSA, is Unpacking STEM Careers, Her Voice in Science. And it's meant to emphasize the crucial role that STEM plays in advocating for career advancement as well as leadership opportunities, especially for women and girls. And I was reading something very interesting, and I want to share this with you. Now, according to a UNESCO report that was published in 2019, the report was titled, Cracking the Code, Girls and Women's Education in STEM. Now, that report found that only 35% of students enrolled in STEM-related fields are female. Only 35%. And that percentage drops drastically to only 3% that were enrolled in information and communication technology degrees. Only 3%. This was in 2019 when this report was published. 5% in mathematics and statistics degrees, and 8% in engineering. And as you would imagine, there were so many questions asked about why this is the case. And various experts offered various reasons. Some said it was because of tradition, it was because of social pressure being some of the main causes. And that was interesting because then you had the Institute of Physics do some research just to test some of these assertions. And they found, they did the study with girls between the ages of 14 and 16. And they actually found that the girls agreed that science had nothing to do with them. And this is because for the longest time, the STEM subjects have always been abstract for so many of not just our young girls, but young boys as well. And I think many of us in this room can attest to that. When science was something that you studied in a book, maths was something that, it was theory. There was never any pracs to go with it. And unfortunately, for the continuously disadvantaged, that remains the case. And it is something that needs to change because by all indications, the workplace of the future will be best served for those who actually go into STEM. So what's going to happen to those who don't have the opportunity? And I was listening to a radio program about 2 weeks ago, and they were discussing this issue of mathematics and how children are being forced to take maths literacy instead of pure maths. And various people called in to give their views, and because I know the host, I sent her a message and I said, you see, the problem is you are focusing on what's happening when we get to subject selection in grade 10. But the problem starts way sooner. If children are failing numeracy in foundation phase, what are we expecting? So the problems are huge, but they are not insurmountable. And I think it's very important that we don't become fatalistic about what the problems are, and which makes occasions such as these particularly poignant, because I'm loving the fact that SABC and SABC News are streaming this, because young girls watching this can see themselves in you here tonight. And they can aspire to do the wonderful things that they will later see you doing in your day-to-day lives. So to the Department of Science, Technology, and Education and Innovation, thank you so much for the work that you do. And it's easy to start something, but sustaining it is not that easy. So I think a warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to the department. So tonight's awards will be made to women researchers and scientists all gathered in this room this evening. And in the distinguished women's researchers and distinguished young women's researchers categories, we will be giving awards in natural and engineering sciences, humanities and social sciences, as well as public engagement with research and a special theme. And then also there'll be awards to encourage younger women to also pursue postgraduate studies through a master's and doctoral fellowships. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with the hosting of this gala dinner here in Bloemfontein this evening, this also comes with some very special recognition because the department in hosting the event here has also named the fellowship the DSTI Dr. Ivy Matsepe-Kasaburi Fellowship in honor of the legacy of a trailblazer that was Dr. Ivy Matsepe-Kasaburi, not just in education, not just in science policy, not just in ICT development, but she was just an all-round leader of a woman. And I think to her family here, thank you so much for having shared her with us, and long may her name be remembered. So I would now like to ask Councillor Theodora Mosala to come forward, the MMC responsible for local economic development and tourism, to welcome us here to the City of Roses.
Director, Deputy Minister, distinguished guests, and honored scientists and researchers. Good evening. On behalf of Executive Mayor Councillor Gregory Ntatisi, I warmly welcome you to the 2025 South African Women in Science Awards. We are honored to host this important national event here in Mangaung during Women's Month. Tonight, we celebrate not only individual excellence, but the collective contribution of women scientists and researchers in shaping our nation's future. The theme, Unpacking STEM Careers, Her Voice in Science, reminds us of the need to amplify women's voices, inspire young girls, and break barriers in science and technology industry. As Mangaung Metropolitan Municipality, we believe that investing in science and technology and in science and innovation is key to building sustainable communities and creating opportunities for future generations. We congratulate all nominees and thank the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation for this initiative that uplifts and honors women in the field of science. Welcome to the city of Mangaung, and may this evening inspire us all in continuing supporting women leadership in science. Ka hona bana beso ka Sesotho sa heso re re nyakalang le je monakaladi wa ke bolela re le Mangaung Metropolitan Municipality re le amohelehile mona lapeng.
And thank you so much to Councillor Theodora Musala. And with that, moving straight along, this is where I welcome our host for the evening and to share her thoughts with us here this evening. Please, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome onto stage with a warm round of applause the Deputy Minister of the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, Ms. Nomalungelo Gina.
Program Director, Ms. Sakina Kamwendo, thank you very much. Let me greet Ms. Musala, representing our mayor, and thank you very much for welcoming us in the city of roses. Greetings to our DG Ndos. Thank you very much for welcoming us here. We are in your hands as we are here, Babundosi. Greetings to our esteemed guest, whom I just want to point out, Dr. Nomalungelo Gina. You will hear more about her. Greetings to you, Kwezi, my sister. Greetings to the family of Dr. Ivy Matsepe Kasaburi. Thank you very much, Bosses Bami, that you are here with us today. Let me also greet Prof. Bando Okolo, the G20 delegate, the senior advisor on the STI, Science, Technology and Innovation at the NEPAD. Thank you very much, Prof, that you are with us today. Greetings to the representatives of Laurel, South Africa. I know I haven't seen my sister, Miss. I nearly said that your name wrongly, even to. Oh, thank you very much. I see them now. I see her now. But more especially, let me greet all our participants, all our scientists that are here from all the institutions of higher learning that are here, from all our entities, our department, ladies and gentlemen, you are all greeted and you are all welcomed here. It is both an honor and a privilege to welcome you today to the 2025 SAWiSA, that is the South African Women in Science Awards. I am excited to be with you tonight as we gather to celebrate the achievements and the contributions of South Africans women researchers and scientists. These are remarkable individuals that you are celebrating today. They continue to push the boundaries of knowledge and innovation, enriching our understanding of the universe, understanding of our society, and also understanding of ourselves. Their work demands exceptional talent, dedication, and tonight we celebrate their excellence. Thank you for being with us to celebrate them. The 2024 STI indicators and Facing the Facts report reflect South Africa's steady progress in advancing gender equity in science, technology, and innovation. Women's representation in scientific publication has grown from 32% in 2005 to 43% in 2021, with female authorship steadily increasing. In public higher education, women now make up 50% of enrollments in science, engineering, and technology field, and they graduate at a higher rate than men, with Black women comprising 72% of that group. I thought you will applaud on that. Okay. Thank you. Women also represent 52% of postgraduate students and 54% of graduates, although they remain a minority at a doctoral level. Women representation among R&D personnel has risen from 41% in 2006 2006-2007 to 48% in 2019. However, the representation of Black South African researchers remain disproportionately low, with only 17% currently holding NRF ratings. And we have just witnessed that just last week when we were in the NRF Awards. In TVET colleges, women account for 63% of enrollment, and only 23% of artisans are women. We still have a long way to go. South Africa now ranks among the top countries in the world when it comes to gender equity in SET. All of this is thanks to the policies and programs adopted since 1994, and believe that programs such as SAWiSA and our postgraduate funding policies played their role in this regard. We might not be there, but we have made good strides. For more than 10 years, the department has been exceeding its annual target of having 55% of postgraduate students being women. The biggest challenge going forward is getting more women in senior roles such as professorates and research leadership. Focus should also go towards the confluence of gender and race, that is, more Black women in senior roles, as the 2023 Facing the Facts report on women's participation on the NSI indicates that women occupy only 30% of CEO positions and 25% of chairperson's role in public research institutions. And their representation in academia remains uneven, with just 32% of professors and 43% of associate professors being women. In March this year, the DSTI, that is the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, hosted the NSI Transformation Summit, which resulted in a number of key resolutions and recommendations. These outcomes will be integrated into the annual performance plans of the department and its entities to ensure alignment with broader transformation agenda. This evening marks a significant milestone for the department. We are here to celebrate 20 years of excellence and transformation in the STI landscape. Since its launch in 2003, SAWiSA has become a cornerstone of the department's effort to promote gender equity. Over the past 2 decades, more than 200 exceptional women have been honored, many of whom have gone on to become mentors, leaders, and role models in their fields. To commemorate this legacy, we are proud to launch a special publication titled 20 Years of Inspiring South African Women in Science. This landmark booklet features the story of 50 SAWiSA alumni representing a rich diversity of disciplines, generations, and institutions. These women have broken barriers, uplifted others through mentorship, and reshaped the image of their contemporary women in science. Their contributions continue to strengthen South Africa's knowledge economy and global scientific standing. This publication is more than just a celebration, good people. It is a strategic tool to reshape scientific perception of gender and science, inspire systemic change across academia, research institutions, and industry, and amplify voices that have been long overlooked. It reaffirms our commitments to inclusion, representation, and transformation in STI. Tonight, I am especially delighted to welcome our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Nomalungelo Gina, the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research, Innovation, and Strategic Partnership at Rhodes University. Dr. Mzilikazi's journey is deeply rooted in SAWiSA's history, as she was the recipient of the inaugural SAWiSA Doctoral Fellowship in 2003. Her inclusion in the commemorative publication is a powerful reflection of how this platform nurtures excellence and enables transformation careers in research and innovation. You'll be surprised, those of you who do not know Dr. Mzilikazi. She looks very young, but looking at her history, it's quite surprising. We are so grateful to have you, Dr. Mzilikazi. SAWiSA's relevance continues to grow each year, with its impact amplified by rotating the hosting across provinces, as our program director has alluded to that. This approach fosters the national appreciation and celebrates outstanding women from each host province. In line with this tradition, one of the categories this year, 2025, SAWiSA, has been rebranded as the DSTI Dr. Ivy Matsepe-Cassaburi Fellowships, honoring the legacy of a trailblazer in education, in science policy, in ICT development. Dr. Matsepe-Cassaburi was an advocate for the dignity of the underprivileged and the empowerment of the girl child through education. I would like to acknowledge the presence of her representatives this evening. Thank you very much to the family that you are with us. Thank you. This year's theme places women voices at the center of the STI discourse. It calls for amplifying their stories to inspire systemic change, breaking gender stereotypes in STEM, creating inclusive spaces for innovation and leadership, and strengthening mentorship and visibility to support career progression, adaptation from UNESCO's International Day of Women and Girls Science. The theme aligns with global efforts to promote equity and inclusion in STEM. The commemorative book that I said we are launching also has also inspired the launch of a dedicated SAWiSA Lincoln alumni platform. This initiative aims to foster long-term connections, peer mentorship, and visibility of SAWiSA winners as public science ambassadors. It will serve as a space to shape opportunities, to shape achievements and collaborations while enhancing impact, tracking, and making sure that there is a continuous engagement with all the alumni in that platform. Beyond celebrating excellence, SAWiSA reaffirms government's commitment to supporting women in STEM and building an inclusive research and innovation ecosystem. This year's finalists, both emerging and established, have produced groundbreaking work across a wide spectrum of discipline. In humanities and social sciences category, their research addresses mental health, justice, violence prevention, disability inclusive health system, and feminist and decolonial knowledge production. These contributions speaks directly to the lived experiences of women and marginalized communities, advancing equity in education, healthcare, religion, and public policy. In the natural and engineering sciences category, finalists are advancing knowledge in pain science, pediatric critical care, genomics, plant pathology, and environmental chemistry. Their work responds to urgent national priorities such as sustainable agriculture, antimicrobial resistance, and clear technologies. Equally impactful are the finalists in the public engagement with the research category, whose work in education, immunology, and public health is reshaping how science is communicated and applied for societal benefit. From pioneering literacy initiative into indigenous language to enhancing health communication around neglected diseases, these researchers are forging vital connections between science and society. The new generation of scientists, the recipients of the Dr. Matsepe Kataburi Fellowship, are conducting innovative research in cancer therapy, biomedical engineering, nanotechnology, climate psychology, and construction management. Their work is both locally grounded and globally relevant, addressing challenges such as green nanofertilizers, disease diagnostic, antimicrobial resistance, and integrated of artificial intelligence in hospitals and in hospital management. What stands out most among all SAWiSA finalists is their unwavering commitment to inclusive excellence. Many are mentoring the next generation, co-supervising postgraduate students, developing tools for science outreach, and championing ethical, community-engaged research. As we celebrate achievements of this year's finalists, we also honor past SAWiSA recipients who continue to make remarkable strides nationally and internationally. I am made aware that there are some of those that are with us tonight, and amongst them, there is Professor Priscilla Baker. You may stand up, Professor. I think they need to see you. Thank you very much, Professor, that you are with us. Professor Baker is a proud SAWiSA alumna who was recently awarded the 2025 Laurel UNESCO for Women in Science International Award for Africa and Arab States. Her pioneering work in electrochemical microsensor for environmental and health application is a statement to how national recognition through SAWiSA can catalyze global scientific leadership. Again, we are so proud of you. thank you very much for flying our flag high. We are well represented in you. Let tonight be more than a celebration. Let it be a reaffirmation of our shared commitment to transformation, inclusion, and excellence in science. When we invest in women in science, we invest in future of innovation, equity, and progress. Wishing you and wishing all our contestants a happy, happy evening. And you'll continue to be the ambassadors of science, the ambassadors of this Department of Science, Technology, and Innovation. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Well, thank you very much to the Deputy Minister there for those wonderful words. And she says, you know, we need to be appreciative of the sort of support that we do get in South Africa from our government, because it is not always the case throughout the world. But with that, and the Deputy Minister already touched on it, it's time now to welcome our keynote speaker for the evening, someone who was where you are right now, some 20 years ago. She was one of the inaugural recipients of a SAWiSA award. Now, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker tonight, Dr. Nomalungelo Gina. She is the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research, Innovation and Strategic Partnerships at Rhodes University in Makhanda in the Eastern Cape. She holds a BSc and honors in zoology from the University of Transkei, now Walter Sisulu University, completed her master's and PhD in zoology at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Her academic career began as a lecturer at the Nelson Mandela University in 2005, alongside postdoctoral research at the Philipp University of Marburg, Germany, as an Alexander von Humboldt Fellow. And after 7 years in academia, she then transitioned to research management, launching the Graduate Support Hub at the University of Pretoria in 2012. She then joined the National Research Foundation, that's the NRF, as a director. And she, of course, was director of the South African PhD project there in 2014, and then later as director for strategy, planning, and partnerships in 2017. In 2018, she returned to Nelson Mandela University, this time as director of research support and management, before assuming her current role at Rhodes University in 2023. A recipient, as I said, of the inaugural South Africa Women in Science Award in 2003, a doctoral fellowship, Dr. Nomalungelo Gina continues to contribute to research leadership and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll join me, if we can all stand to welcome our keynote speaker for this evening as well, Dr. Nomalungelo Gina.
Thank you, Ms. Sakina Kamwendo, for that generous introduction. To our host, the Deputy Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Ms. Nomalungelo Gina, the Deputy General of the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Mlungisi, officials of the DSTI, the Senior Advisor STI at Outer NEPID, Professor Brando Okolo, the L'Oreal South Africa representatives, Ms. Michelle Kololo and Ms. Tandi Kunene, the late Dr. Ivy Matsepe-Kasaburi's family members, the Deputy Minister's special guests, colleagues, vice chancellors, deputy vice chancellors, special mention of directors of research who are the champions behind the nominations, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, finalists of the Women in Science 2025 Awards. Good evening, Molweni, Sanbonani, Dumelang. It is hard to believe that 22 years have passed since the 21st of August 2003, when the Department of Science and Technology hosted the inaugural Women in Science Awards in Johannesburg, where I was announced as one of 3 recipients of the PhD fellowship in the category of science, of a science field with traditionally low participation in women, and that was the field of evolutionary physiology. To receive the award, I had traveled from Modimole in Limpopo, where I was collecting data for the final field season of my PhD. 2003 was the 3rd year of registration for my PhD, and I was still collecting data. Naturally, I had the anxiety linked to trying to figure out how I would survive the final year, the write-up here, because as you know, PhD bursaries do not cater for field seasons gone wrong. Upon encouragement from my supervisor, the late Professor Barry Lovegrove, who had cheerfully advised, Kwezi, that's how he used to call me, this is just the right kind of fellowship for you. You have published a few accredited articles, you meet all the criteria, they'd be silly not to award you. I had submitted an application. You see, Barry was a big dreamer, a big ideas, a global ideas kind of supervisor. He had no patience for the kind of any self-limiting belief or fear or anxiety that a 25-year-old 3rd-year PhD student may harbor. Ever enthusiastic, ever encouraging, and ever articulating expectations. You see, in the Lovegrove lab, any science worth doing was worth disseminating or publishing. Otherwise, it was a waste of time and a waste of taxpayers' money. As the finalists of this year's awards will attest, publishing early and publishing often was and still is one way to stand out and to be eligible for the DSTI Women in Science Awards. Another aspect of that night that is forever etched in my memory is the fact that I was a real country bumpkin. The kind who rocked up with a pumpkin from her mother's garden as a gift for my professor. What was I going to wear? My co-supervisor, the late Dr. Judith Masters, promptly sent me 700 rand to buy a little black number and a pair of high heels from the little town of Mokopane, which was the closest to my field site. Deputy Minister, ladies and gentlemen, 22 years later, and perhaps belatedly, please allow me to pay a huge tribute and express my gratitude to those 2 crazy, wonderful supervisors of mine. It has always taken a village. As you heard in the generous introduction, the country bumpkin has gone on to become a deputy vice chancellor of the only research-intensive rural university in South Africa. Her career having been launched at this very platform, the Women in Science Awards. My sincere thanks to the Department of Science, Technology, and Innovation. Why do I recount this story? Apart from my gratitude, could it be because I wish to entrench the idea of black female exceptionalism? No. I recount this story to highlight the importance of mentorship and support and guidance, themes I will later return to in this address. I tell this story because much like the metaphor of Tinswalo in the President's State of the Nation address last year, this story is now multiplied thousands of times as the nation graduates in excess of 3,600 PhD graduates each year, with 46.3% of them being women. It is a deep honor to stand before you today in a moment that is both celebratory and sobering. Celebratory because we gather to honor remarkable achievements and amplify her voice in science. Sobering because we are reminded how much further we still have to go. The theme, Unpacking STEM Careers, Her Voice in Science, as you heard earlier, was adapted from the 2025 UNESCO International Day of Women and Girls in Science, to emphasize the importance of creating pathways for women's career development and leadership in STEM, while addressing systemic barriers such as funding, mentorship, and workplace bias. Now, Deputy Minister, I've been sitting there wondering who is doing the counting at DSTI, because everyone keeps talking about 20 years of celebration when we know the inaugural awards were in 2003. And I keep thinking, no, this arithmetic is not adding up. So I have been reliably informed that it is because we are also celebrating 20 years of a flagship around physics. So it's both the SAWiSA 22 years and the International Year of Physics 20 years. The theme of this year's awards is both timely and necessary. It calls upon us to critically examine the pathways, barriers, and enablers for women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And it urges us to listen, to really listen to the voices of women in science, to their insights, their innovations, their struggles, and their dreams. Since 2003, SAWiSA have highlighted the achievements of exceptional women in the natural sciences, in humanities and social sciences, engineering, indigenous knowledge systems, and more recently, in the public engagement with research. In doing so, it has given us something more than awards. It has given us role models. This year, we continue that tradition by honoring not only our researchers and fellows, but the memory of Dr. Ivy Matsepe-Kasaburi. As South Africa's first female premier of the Free State and a former Minister of Communications, she was a tireless advocate for digital inclusion, gender equality, and technological innovation. Her legacy reminds us that women's leadership in science and technology is not new. However, there is still a need for inclusive media representation to challenge gender stereotypes and amplify the contributions of women in STEM. I'm particularly pleased about the publication of the SAWiSA commemorative booklet, which highlights the achievements of SAWiSA alumni, showcasing impact as role models and inspiring the next generation of women in STEM, and that this booklet will be officially launched tomorrow. As we do every year during Women's Month, let us reflect on some statistics. You will have heard some recounted or cited earlier this evening. Some of the stats that I cite may be different from the ones that were cited earlier. Doesn't matter as long as you can cite your source. So today, women account for 61% of university enrollments. You will note that quite a bit of my speech will also focus on the higher education sector, which shouldn't be surprising because I've literally spent all my life in the higher education sector, having joined in 2005, making this 30 years in the sector for me. More women are now entering STEM fields today than ever before, and for the first time, women are outnumbering men in science, engineering, and technology degree completions. Women now make up 46% of doctoral graduations. They make up 49.2% of instruction and research staff at our public universities. We celebrate that. Yet we also see that 18.5% of full professors are women, and just under 40% of SACHI chairs are held by Black researchers. What does this tell us? This tells us that participation is not enough, that we must ensure that our systems do not merely invite women into science, but enable them to thrive, to lead, and to shape the agenda. It is often asked, why are we seemingly obsessive about statistics of women's participation in STEM? It is because data are revealing. They reveal trends, they reveal progress, and they reveal gaps. In fact, more often than not, data hide more than they reveal. An Elsevier study looking at the patterns of women's participation in STEM in all the regions of the world, published in 2024, reveals that while women have now reached comparable levels of participation, it has taken 20 years to get into this parity range, which is often pegged between 40 and 60%. The DSTI and the National Research Foundation have been at the forefront of supporting the participation of women throughout the research excellence development pipeline through various funding instruments and initiatives. However, as alluded to earlier, we must recognize that representation is not the destination. It is merely the first step. We must ask, where are these women situated within the scientific ecosystem? Are they publishing at the same rates? Are they leading laboratories, centers, institutes, departments? Are they cited as frequently? Are they represented in patents and technology startups? Are they shaping funding priorities, setting national research agendas, and influencing innovation at scale? Too often, we find that women cluster in early career and support roles, while senior leadership in STEM and at the highest academic ranks remain stubbornly male-dominated. This is before we even interrogate the intersectionality of race, gender, disability, and institutional type. We must be careful not to confuse participation with power. The theme of this year's awards invites us to engage with both the promise and the paradox of women's participation in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It compels us to ask, what does it mean to truly have a voice in science? What structural and cultural shifts are still needed for women not just to be present, but to thrive, to lead, and transform the STEM landscape? As I reflect on the theme, I am drawn to 4 dimensions that shape whether women's voices are heard, valued, and amplified. The first is agency, the power for women to speak, to choose, and to lead in science on their own terms. The second is support, particularly through mentorship and networks that sustain growth and resilience. The third is institutional cultures, which can either silence or create space for women's voices to flourish. And finally, there's the matter of intentional design, policies, programs, and strategies that deliberately build equity into the structures of science. These 4 strands are interwoven, and together they tell us what it takes to ensure that her voice is not only present, but powerful. For a moment, I want to focus on the fellowship nominees for this evening and the early career academics, and to tell you, my sisters, that the terrain of career progression is uneven, and this is something that you will need to navigate carefully. One of the most pressing challenges we face is the leaky pipeline, the steady attrition of women from the STEM trajectories as they move from doctoral study to postdoc research and onward to leadership. This leakage is not accidental. It is the direct outcome of inflexible structures, systemic bias, and academic cultures that often undervalue the diverse ways in which women contribute. Career progression must be approached with both intention and strategy. The data remain clear. There is a sharp decline in the percentage of women who progress to advanced stages. This is where many promising trajectories falter, not because of lack of talent, but because retention mechanisms are weak, mentoring is inconsistent, and systemic barriers remain entrenched. The challenges often cited by early career academics are linked to the burden of heavy teaching loads, bureaucracy, and a lack of mentorship. And these are intense for women, especially Black women, and underscore the need for more systemic support. Programs such as Tutuka, Black Academics Advancement Program, the Future Professors Program, the NGAP are vital. But their impact depends not only on design, but on how they are implemented, monitored, and scaled. At the rate of 2 participants per institution per year, it will take too long before we can assist senior lecturers to transition into associate professorships and later on into professorships. We simply do not have another 20 years. Institutional leaders and funders have a critical role to play here. By driving an inclusive culture that addresses unconscious bias, by actively supporting mentoring and coaching, by implementing policies that accommodate life transitions such as parenthood, and by widening access to research funding. These actions are not add-ons. They are essential if we are to retain the energy, the creativity, and talent of early career women and see them flourish into scientific leaders. Intentionality requires us to look beyond individual recognition. Many of our funding instruments and mechanisms of recognizing prestige foreground the achievements of a single scientist. Yet, the true potential of these accomplishments is unlocked when we leverage them for broader ecosystem benefit. If we are deliberate, our institutions and our science councils can create structures that ensure individual success, strengthens teams, communities, and the wider scientific enterprise, so that her voice amplifies not only personal achievement, but collective advancement. At the same time, individual researchers, especially early career academics, must make it their business to understand how career projection can be structured, how excellence is measured, and how recognition is awarded. Just as you have had to familiarize yourself with the criteria for the Women in Science Awards or with the funding instruments of the NRF, so too must you become fluent in the systems, frameworks, and mechanisms that govern progression. Mastery of the rules of the game is as critical as the science itself. Agency and support are deeply intertwined. Women must be able to navigate their careers with intention and clarity, understanding the structures that shape progression while simultaneously having access to consistent mentoring, coaching, and networks that help them overcome systemic barriers and sustain their trajectories. Next, we must deal with the question of belonging. More than funding, more than mentorship, what many women in science say they struggle the most with is the feeling of not belonging. That persistent, knowing sense of being the only one in the room, the subtle undermining, the polite exclusion, the questions posed to male colleagues when she is the expert. The truth is, brilliance does not flourish in environments where one must constantly prove that they deserve to be there. Creating a culture of belonging in STEM means recognizing the hidden labor of women, the mentoring, the emotional support, the committee work, the role modeling, and valuing it as an integral part of the scientific enterprise. Then there's the issue of her voice. On whose terms? We must also interrogate what we mean when we say her voice in science. Is she allowed to speak only in the idioms of Western science? Is her knowledge only valid when it conforms to dominant paradigms? Or can we make space for indigenous knowledge, community-based research, transdisciplinary thinking? Too often, women of color must code switch, self-silence, or smooth their rough edges to be deemed professional. But science loses its vitality when it demands uniformity. Her voice in science should be authentic, disruptive, and plural, and we must make room for that multiplicity. Consider this. According to the 2024 Elsevier Review on Progress Towards Gender Equality in Research and Innovation, women researchers consistently perform well on indicators of research culture, particularly multidisciplinarity. Multidisciplinary research, and dare I say transdisciplinary research, is not a fad. It is not a peripheral issue. It is the very mode of work most needed to tackle today's complex and stubborn global challenges, from climate change to pandemics to sustainable development. The data show that across time, across fields, and across broad categories of science, publications involving women are more likely to be multidisciplinary than those involving men. This is not incidental. It signals a capacity for collaboration and an ability to bridge silos and a commitment to drawing diverse perspectives into conversation. In short, women are leading the very dimension that the future of science most urgently requires. As I move towards concluding my speech, I wish to address the senior research leaders in the room. We need to pay it forward with intention. We need more role models. We need door openers. Those who mentor with intentionality, who recommend others for panels and prizes, who advocate for fair hiring, and who call out bias even when it is uncomfortable. Let us not underestimate the power of networks, of collective action, and of sisterhood. Let us ask ourselves, who am I mentoring? Who have I spoken up for? Who are the young women watching me, silently learning what is possible? Let us also remember, science is not neutral. It can liberate or it can marginalize. It can heal or harm. And so the voice of women in science is not just about diversity. It is about justice, about ensuring that the questions we ask, the technologies we develop, and the futures we imagine are inclusive and humane. We are not here to fit into an existing mold. We are here to reshape it, to make science more ethical, more accountable, more attuned to the needs of communities and the planet. In closing, as a nation, we have made commendable strides in promoting women in science. We are building and strengthening robust bridges from student to scholar and from scholar to leader. In fact, where I stand, looking at this room, filled with exceptional women in science, it is starting to look like winning. Indeed, it is starting to feel like winning. To all the emerging scientists nominated and those who will receive fellowships today, we see you. Your voice matters, your questions matter. To the senior women scientists already holding the line, thank you for your courage, for your excellence, for your tenacity. Your voice in science is impossible to ignore. I thank you.
Well, thank you so much to our keynote speaker, don't run away, Dr. Mzilikazi, and so much for us to chew on there. So much truth and wisdom spoken. And in order for us to progress, we're going to have to ponder on so many of those points. And you speak of courage, and I think for a lot of the women here, it has taken courage to get to where they are. You speak of agency and support, and I think support is such an important thing. There's a baby in the room tonight. And I love that because this is, after all, the South African Women in Science Awards, and women have babies. It's one of the realities of our lives. But that baby is so quiet, I bet some of you didn't even know there was a baby in the room. There she is. And that, of course, a potential future scientist and researcher in the making, here to support her mom. And I think she has her mom supporting her here tonight so that she can enjoy these awards. So this is what it is about. But thank you so much, Dr. Mzilikazi, for those wonderful words. And just as a token of appreciation, well, thank you, and may you continue to do the wonderful work that you do. And this was inaugural awards, so who knows who's going to be standing up here next from the right-hand side of the... Are they already putting their hands up? We received that. So thank you so much, Dr. Mzilikazi. And by the way, yeah, the arithmetic, not arithmeticking, but it's COVID. That's a COVID thing, I am made to believe, that the awards... That also works. That also works. But thank you so much for all that you do, and thanks so much for that great speech. So ladies and gentlemen, what I want to do is I want to get the speeches out of the way so that we can get to the awards part of the ceremony. So I know the program doesn't quite say this, so do forgive me, Professor Okolo, because I'm going to call you up now to come forward. Professor Brando Okolo, our G20 delegate, who is a senior advisor STI at ODA NAPAD, to give a message of support for tonight's awards. And I know the band, I'm going to ask you guys also just to be on standby for me, as I say, just to try and get the speeches out of the way, and then we can go on to presenting the awards. So Professor Brando Okolo, if you will join us up on stage, please.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge all the distinguished people here, starting with the Deputy Minister for Science, Technology and Innovation, our Honorable Chancellor here, the DG for DSTI, the distinguished Professor that just gave us a wonderful overview about what the journey is like for a woman within the field of science, technology, and innovation. I also like to acknowledge the pioneering women in science, advocates for STEM excellence, and the champions of innovation that are present here. Tonight, we gather to celebrate not just achievements, but transformation. We celebrate the rising voices that are reshaping the landscape of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in our continent. I must also note, though, that never in human history have we witnessed this much participation of women, females, in STEM. The data describing this much isn't disastrous, as some would like it to look, but it can be radically improved upon, I know. And it is being improved upon, even as we speak. Africa will witness, by the end of this year, an increase in female student admission into the STEM sector. Therefore, we stand at a remarkable inflection point in history, one where data tells a story of both challenge and unprecedented opportunity. Let me first share with us a sobering global picture. Women make up only about 28% of the STEM global workforce in 2024, while in the non-STEM fields, women comprised about 47% of the workforce. At the educational level, women made up about 35% of STEM graduates globally, a figure that remains stagnant and has remained stagnant over the past decade. These numbers reveal a persistent global challenge, one that requires urgent attention and innovative solutions. In Africa, however, the data is different. Different because it inspires pride and a sense of determination. Africa is leading the world in a remarkable way. Africa now has the highest proportion of female STEM graduates, with 47% of African universities of science, technology, and engineering and mathematics graduates at both the undergraduate and postgraduate levels are women. This is not just a statistic, it's a testament of the resilience, the determination, the brilliance of African women who refuse to be confined to and by traditional boundaries. This achievement didn't happen overnight. Now, for context, in the 1960s, fewer than 5% of Africa's women in higher education were in STEM fields. The overwhelming majority of female students were in humanities, education, and health-related training. Hence, the data we starkly see today represents a decade or decades of struggle, decades of advocacy, and the courageous voices of women who insisted on their place in laboratories, in research facilities, and innovation hubs across our continent. It reflects policy changes, institutional reforms, and most importantly, the gradual but present and persistent cultural shift that recognizes that talent has no gender. In South Africa, our story is one of remarkable progress within the context of ongoing challenges. While about 50% of girls compared to 58% of boys achieved 30% or higher in math in the National Senior Certificate Examination, we see the mathematical gender gap narrowing compared to previous generations. This represents significant improvement from the apartheid era, when access to quality STEM education was severely restricted for the majority of our population. South Africa's democratic transformation has opened doors that were previously locked. We've witnessed the emergence of women who have become leading voices in nuclear physics, in biomedical engineering, in space sciences, and digital innovation. From our universities to our research councils, from our technology incubators to our mining laboratories, South African women are making their mark on both local and global stages. Our policies that promote transformation in higher education, coupled with targeted programs supporting girls in math and science, have created pathways that previous generations could only dream of. The National Research Foundation supports for women researchers, their support for initiatives by organizations like the Academy of Science of South Africa, the programs that foster STEM education in schools have all contributed to this positive trajectory. As we celebrate today, and as we've always celebrated, even in the past, the rising female voice in STEM, we must also acknowledge a crucial principle, that excellence thrives on diversity, not dominance by a single group. The future of STEM requires the full spectrum of human talent, the talents of both women and men, working together to solve the complex challenges facing our continent and our world. We must resist the temptation to see gender equality as a zero-sum game. As women claim their rightful place in STEM fields, we must ensure that this transformation strengthens rather than fractures our scientific community. Young men must see women's successes not as a threat, but as an inspiration. Evidence that merit, creativity, and dedication define scientific excellence. The challenges we face, climate change, food security, healthcare access, digital transformation, sustainable energy, these challenges require collaborative intelligence that draws from every corner of human potential. We need the analytical rigor of our female engineers, working alongside the innovative thinking of our male researchers. We need diverse teams that can approach problems from multiple perspectives, teams that challenge assumptions, and teams that create solutions that work for all of Africa's people. Drawing from the theme of this year's SAWiSA, which is Unpacking STEM's Career, Her Voice in Science, we speak of her voice in science. We are not just talking about representation. We're talking about transformation. Women bring different perspectives. They ask different questions and often identify solutions that might otherwise be overlooked. Research consistently shows that diverse teams outperform homogeneous ones in problem solving and innovation. Her voice questions why certain diseases affect women and children, and those diseases receive less research attention. Her voice advocates for technologies that address the specific challenges faced by African communities. Her voice insists on inclusive design in everything from medical devices to agricultural innovations. Her voice demands that the benefits of scientific advancement reach the most marginalized members of our society. This voice, which we keep talking about today, is already reshaping African science. We see it in the pioneering work of women developing drought-resistant crops, creating affordable diagnostic tools for rural healthcare, designing sustainable energy solutions for off-grid communities, and building digital platforms that connect African farmers to global markets. As we look towards the future, and for me that future actually is in 2050, as we look towards the year 2050, I envision an Africa where her voice in science has fundamentally transformed our continent. I see a future where Africa has achieved scientific sovereignty, where we're not just consumers of technology, but creators and exporters of innovation. By 2050, powered by the full participation of women, African women especially in STEM, Africa will have solved its own challenges and contributed solutions to global problems. Our female scientists would have developed breakthrough treatments for diseases that disproportionately affect African populations. Our women engineers would have, in 2050, designed infrastructure systems perfectly adapted to African environments and needs. By 2050, I envision African women leading global research consortiums, heading major technological companies, and serving as chief scientific advisors to governments worldwide. I see young girls across our continent growing up with the absolute certainty that every field of science and technology is open to them. This future Africa will have transformed agricultural productivity through precision farming techniques developed by our soil scientists and our agricultural engineers. Our female innovators would have, by 2050, created sustainable urban planning models that other continents will adopt. Our biotech researchers would have positioned Africa as a global leader in personalized medicine and genetic research. The economic impact of these transformations, which we look forward to, will be profound. With full gender participation in STEM, Africa's GDP will grow exponentially, powered by indigenous innovation rather than resource extraction. Our technology export market will rival that of any region in the world, and African universities will be globally recognized centers of scientific excellence. Now, achieving such a vision would, however, require commitment from all of us. We must continue investing in STEM education for girls while ensuring quality opportunities for all learners. We must support women-led research initiatives while building inclusive scientific communities. We must celebrate female achievements, as we're doing today, and as you've done for the past 22 years, while fostering collaborative excellence that includes everyone. To young women and also the recipients of awards this evening, here tonight, and those watching from afar, your voice matters. Your questions matter. Your innovations will shape not just Africa's future, but the world's future. Don't let anyone convince you that science and technology are not for you. They are yours by right, and the world needs what you have to contribute. As tonight's celebrations come to an end, let's remember that the sound which we want to hear in Africa's STEM is not a solo performance by a single group, but rather a symphony, a complex, harmonious, and powerful one. Her voice in science is rising. We know that. Historically, we've seen it happen. And it's calling others to join in creating music that will resonate across continents through generations. The future which we are building, not just as an agency or within the African Union, but as a collective across this continent, that future is where every child, regardless of gender, sees limitless possibilities in science and technology, where African innovation addresses African challenges and contributes to global solutions, where her voice in science, supported by all voices in science, creates a prosperous, sustainable, and scientifically advanced Africa. I say thank you for making it possible for me to be here, and also for the representation I give today on behalf of the African Union, and to all of us that are gathered here tonight. for being part of this transformation. I thank you for ensuring that her voice in science will continue to grow stronger, louder, and more impactful as each passing year occurs. Let me end by using that common word we use today, Ubuntu. We are because she is, and she is because we all are. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to Professor Okolo for that continental perspective on what we are celebrating here this evening. Professor Brando Okolo, our G20 delegate, who is the Senior Advisor STI at ODA NAPAD, giving us a message of support. And I was saying earlier, you know, right now in South Africa, if it doesn't have a letter and a 20 next to it, it's nothing. Everything is about the G20 and everything around it. So thank you so much, Professor Okolo. So right now, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the awards? Someone is saying no. So for as long as everybody's not ready, we're not going there. So I heard a no, a very loud no. It must be a nervous no. But I tell you what, shall we have dinner and then go on to the awards? Let's make sure everybody's fed. Calm the nerves, don't worry, just calm those nerves. So we're gonna have dinner. Dinner will now be served, and I will once again remind you that if you indicated in your RSVP that you would have a halal or vegetarian meal, please just indicate to your waiter. But ladies and gentlemen, dinner is now served, and after that, we will be getting into the awards. And we'll also have some background music, and we also have Claire Ronch and her band will also be playing some music for us in a 20-minute set. So please enjoy your dinner.
Chilo, chilo, imnadi loncholo. Why embete ingubo ezimhlophe? Why embete ingubo ezibomvu? Lalisito, lisiti, ilizwe lifile. Chilo, chilo, imnadi loncholo. drift out my window, the falling leaves of red and gold. I see your lips, the summer kisses, the sunburned hand I used to hold. Since you went away, my days grow long, and I can hear old winter song. But I miss you most of all, my darling. When autumn leaves starts to fall. The falling leaves drift by my window, the autumn leaves of red and gold. I see your lips, the summer kisses, the sunburned hands I used to hold. Since you went away, out of nights wind blew, and now I hear old winter songs. But I miss you most of all, my darling. When autumn leaves starts to fall, I miss you most of all, my darling. When autumn leaves starts to fall, when autumn leaves starts to fall. Oh, when autumn leaves starts to fall.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're enjoying your dinner. And in the interest of time, I'm going to suggest that we move on with the program whilst you continue enjoying your dinner, if that's okay with everybody. Okay, great stuff. Claire and your band, thank you so much. That was lovely, appreciated that. And it brings us now to that much anticipated part of the program this evening. But I just want to say, as we get to this, the women we celebrate tonight have achieved not just for themselves, but for all women in science across South Africa. And we are celebrating here tonight brilliance, we're celebrating resilience, and of course, we are celebrating innovation. And I just want to appeal to all of us here tonight that as I call the names of the awardees and as they come up to stage, let us just remind ourselves of the great work that they have done and the milestones that they have reached as women in science in South Africa. And let's give them all the necessary applause, recognition that they deserve. So with that, a warm round of applause to start us off with for our awardees this evening, ladies and gentlemen. And let's move to the first category. And as I go through the categories, I'll also be reading for you what the criteria was in selecting our winners and our awardees here this evening. Now, the first category of awards this evening will be the DSTI Dr. Ivy Matsepe Kasaburi Fellowship. And before we get into those, let's just watch this clip.
Dr. Ivy Matsepe Kasaburi was a trailblazer in education, science policy, and information and communications technology development in South Africa. She was an activist who fiercely fought for the dignity of the underprivileged and championed emancipation and empowerment of the girl child through education. While in exile from apartheid South Africa, she achieved her PhD in sociology at Rutgers University in the USA. She was the first Black woman to take up leadership roles, including being Premier of the Free State, Chairperson of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, the SABC, Centec, the Research Advisory Group of the Women's National Coalition, and founder member of the Board of the Women's Development Foundation. From 1999 until her passing in 2009, she was the National Minister of Communications, where she championed digital inclusion and ICT advancement. She felt that the people of the Free State where she grew up shaped who she became. Her dream lives on through the Ivy Matsepe Kasaburi Educational Fund Trust, which awards scholarships to communication science students at the University of the Free State. Dr. Ivy Matsepe Kasaburi left an indelible mark on our country. A life well lived, a destiny fulfilled, and a rich legacy left behind.
What a remarkable woman. And once again, to the family of Dr. Ivy Matsepe Kasaburi, thank you so much for sharing her with the rest of South Africa. And also proudly, as someone from the South African Broadcasting Corporation, she was, of course, the first chairperson of the SABC post-liberation. Now, getting into the category of the DSTI Dr. Ivy Matsepe Kasaburi Fellowship Awards, and these will be awarded to 16 women tonight, 7 master's and 9 doctoral students who are currently involved in full-time study or research, with 1 award made in the area of indigenous knowledge systems and 1 in astronomy. Now, the fellowships are awarded to postgraduate students who already hold scholarships from the National Research Foundation or some of the other DSTI agencies, as well as other organizations. And it can be used to top up tuition fees and exchange conferences, student academic programs, and also covering the cost of conference attendance or the acquisition of specialized research materials and equipment that may be required to complete a master's or doctoral degree. And the fellowship funding can also be used by the recipient to spend 3 to 6 months at an international research institution for the purpose of expanding her research experience. The DSTI Dr. Ivy Matsepe Kasaburi fellowships are worth 70,000 Rand for the master's students and 90,000 Rand for the doctoral students. So when we say everybody's a winner here tonight, it's not just a cliche. Everybody is literally a winner here tonight. And with that, I'd like to call on the Managing Director, SASTA, Dr. Mamuletsi Musia, on behalf of the Chief Executive Officer of the National Research Foundation, Dr. Fulufelo Nelwamondo, as well as Dr. Ivy Matsepe Kasaburi's family representative, Ms. Dinah Koza, to come onto the stage to help us present the fellowship awards. And this is where we start clapping. And we're going to do a lot of that this evening. So that side of the room is nervous, so I'm counting on this side of the room to help us along. So ladies and gentlemen, I will first ask the 7 recipients of the Master's Fellowships to come to the stage as I call their names in alphabetical order. Ms. Ruby Mae Davies from Nelson Mandela University. Ms. Nolwazi Tabile Gazu from the University of South Africa. Ms. Duduzile Kubega, who's from Stellenbosch University. Also, Ms. Notando Clementine Madlala from the University of Mpumalanga. You guys are doing me proud on this side of the house. Thank you. Ms. Corinne Mouton from Stellenbosch University. We also joined from the University of Cape Town by Ms. Pelisa Ntayia. And our 7th recipient here is Ms. Nathma Sami from the University of South Africa.
Hello, my name is Ruby Davies and I'm completing an MSc in Nature Conservation here at Nelson Mandela University in George. I'm investigating how bees rob nectar from bird-pollinated famous flowers and how this affects the plant's reproductive success. My research is revealing novel insights into how these nectar robbers can alter both plant reproduction and pollinator behavior, with the implications for the conservation of our threatened famous ecosystems and their biodiversity.
I am Ms. Nolwazi Gazu, an MSc student for nanotechnology and water sustainability at the University of South Africa. My research project has developed an electrochemical tool using novel nanomaterials in an lab. The tool will enable large-scale detection in wastewater samples of the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2 spike glycoprotein biomarker and fast-track the spread of COVID-19 at a community level.
I am Duduzile Kubeka, a master's student at Stellenbosch University in the Western Cape. My research project aims to map the landscape of astronomy engagement and outreach initiatives across Africa. The project will identify key role players, document the types and locations of their activities, and examine the challenges and success factors shaping these efforts. We have led astronomy outreach initiatives reaching thousands across Africa through collaborations with individuals and organizations and expanded engagement, especially in underrepresented communities. I have received travel grants, presented at international conferences, and published research in peer-reviewed journals.
I am Nomalungelo, a Master of Science in Agriculture candidate at the University of Mpumalanga in Mpumalanga Province. The research project focuses on developing a green nano-fertilizer from banana peels and watermelon rind extract for sustainable agricultural practices. The green nano-fertilizer significantly enhances the growth of bell peppers and tomatoes. Thus far, 2 review papers have been published, and a book chapter and 2 additional papers are currently under review.
Hi, I am Karim Mitan, a chemical engineering master's student at Stellenbosch University in the Western Cape. My project investigates high pressure, carbon dioxide, alcohol, and alkane phase behavior to improve thermodynamic modeling for sustainable separation process design. The project produced novel high pressure phase data and quantified thermodynamic model uncertainty. The findings were then submitted to Fluid Phase Equilibria, a well-known peer-reviewed journal.
Hi, my name is Pelisanta Hia. I'm a master's student in biomedical engineering at the University of Cape Town. My project focuses on developing a method to mitigate image discrepancies during cystoscopy procedures with the aim of enhancing the identification and visualization of bladder tumors in patients with bladder cancers. This work has produced a validated prototype device through usability studies and cadaver trials with clinicians involved, 2 academic papers, and an accepted abstract for oral presentation at the World Congress for Medical Physics and Biomedical Engineering.
I'm Nathma Sami, a University of South Africa psychology postgraduate assistant from Gauteng. Our collective identity and pro-environmental behavior study aims to understand how psychological factors influence pro-environmental behavior of young South Africans. The outcomes thus far include filling critical knowledge gaps in pro-environmental behavior in an effort to empower youth-led strategies and shape impactful, inclusive climate solutions and societal changes where it is needed most, the Global South.
Well, congratulations to all our awardees this evening, and I feel like a proud mom with all the wonderful work that you guys are doing. And we will now have each one of you come up to receive your prize this evening, starting with Miss Ruby May Davies from the Nelson Mandela University. Nolwazi Kazu is from the University of South Africa. From Stellenbosch University, Duduzile Kubega. Ms. Notando Mandlala is from the University of Mpumalanga. A warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Ms. Corinne Mouton from Stellenbosch University. From the University of Cape Town, congratulations to Ms. Pelisa Ntaiya. And our final awardee for this category, but by no means least, Ms. Nathma Sami from the University of South Africa. Congratulations, ladies, and I'm going to ask all of you to please come and join Dr. Musia and Ms. Koza for a group picture. Well, that takes care of our master's fellowships. Ladies, thank you so much. And also for the ladies helping us present the awards. Before you go, Dr. Musia and Ms. Koza, we wish to actually have you remain on stage. Dr. Musia, a token of our appreciation. And we have a bouquet that we wish to present to you. So just bringing that out. Dr. Musia, I will make sure that it gets to you. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to call now on the Director General of DSTI, Dr. Mlungisi Cele, to come and assist Ms. Koza with handing out the next set of fellowships. All right, so again, I will be calling the names in alphabetical order. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a resounding welcome to our next group of awardees. These are for the recipients of the doctoral fellowships, starting with Ms. Kimberly Christine Kutzer from Stellenbosch University. Ms. Nadine Zita Dupisani from the University of Pretoria. And she's followed by Ms. Samantha Philby from the University of Cape Town. Staying in the Western Cape, from the University of the Western Cape, Ms. Jamie January. And here in her home province, our next awardee is from the University of Free State, Kigomoditswe Malebu. Let's welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Jacqueline Maputa from the University of Pretoria. From the University of Johannesburg, Ms. Linda Makutu. Ms. Moteo Chebane is from the University of Johannesburg as well. And Ms. Nomtandazo Precious Biadlomo from Durban University of Technology.
I'm Kimberly Kutzer, a PhD student at Stellenbosch University in the Western Cape. My research, titled Advancing Gene Function and Disease Mechanism Insight through a Containerized Multi-omics Integration Tool,
uses amyotrophic lateral sclerosis to address the limitations of siloed data analysis when studying complex genetic disorders. Most notably, my proven track record for publishing and presenting my research while participating in and leading social outreach earned me the L'Oreal UNESCO for Women in Science South Africa Award.
Hello, I'm Nadine Dupisani, a PhD candidate at the University of Pretoria. My research project explores Generation Alpha's food literacy, using gamification as a foundation for healthier futures, and to promote sustainable empowered food choices. I developed a South African food literacy questionnaire and a gamified computer game specifically for Generation Alpha. I presented internationally and placed second at the 2024 E-Learning Excellence Awards for Digital Innovation.
I'm Samantha Philby, an economics PhD candidate at the University of Cape Town. My PhD explores youth smoking in Africa, evaluates which excise tax structures are most effective at reducing smoking, and compares international tax benchmarks to identify those that best support public health. The goal of my research is to provide policymakers with evidence-based insights for designing tobacco tax systems that best reduce the health, economic, and social burden of smoking-related non-communicable diseases. My PhD proposal won me a Fulbright scholarship to undertake part of my research in America. The research has so far culminated in 2 peer-reviewed publications and several presentations at international conferences.
I am Jamie January, a PhD student here at the University of the Western Cape. This project's title is Electrochemiluminescence, known as ECL, nanobody-based immunosensor for SARS-CoV-2 specific antigens. It aims to develop ultra-sensitive next-generation COVID-19 and cancer tests using biomarker-driven ECL signaling. The project develops a diagnostic platform based on a nano-sized antibody fragment known as nanobodies. It targets CAPG, a novel biomarker for cancer, and the RBD spike protein for COVID-19. A key achievement thus far includes the publication of the CAPG-related work in a top journal, namely Biosensors and Bioelectronics, with an impact factor of 12.6.
I am Kehumulisa Malebu, a doctoral candidate at the University of Free State. My research focuses on developing human monoclonal antibodies to help diagnose and treat Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, a disease with no approved treatments or point-of-care tests. So far, we've produced viral antigens and isolated human antibody candidates, an important first step towards creating rapid, accessible diagnostics and exploring new treatment options.
I am Jacqueline Maputa, PhD candidate at the University of Pretoria in Gauteng. My research project aims at targeting the P10 pathway in metastatic melanoma. The main goal is curbing drug resistance using a plant with links to indigenous knowledge. Thus far, the research has provided elucidation of reversal of multi-drug resistance mechanisms, identification of a compound, and submission of an invention disclosure.
I'm Linda Makutu, a PhD candidate and lecturer at the University of Johannesburg in Gauteng. My project, Decolonization as Epistemic Repair, aims to advance equitable mental health care by integrating African traditional medicine and AI into public health ethics. 2 PhD articles are currently under review and have been presented at international conferences. This project co-develops a decolonial, community-informed framework for integrating traditional healers and AI into mental health care, grounding it in Ubuntu and ethical scholarship.
I am Mateo Mitachiban, a doctoral candidate at the University of Johannesburg. My project looks at developing an AI-led framework to optimize hospital asset and infrastructure management in South Africa. I have published in a top journal and presented at an international conference that an AI-led conceptual framework optimizes hospital efficiency and asset tracking.
I am Nomtandazo Precious Viadlomo, Doctor of Engineering candidate
and growing our own timber lecturer at the Department of Chemical Engineering at Durban University of Technology in KwaZulu-Natal. My research projects employ hybridized adsorbent produced by immobilizing agro-waste to reduce heavy metals in wastewater. These projects support Sustainable Development Goals 2, 6, 12, and 14. This project has been presented at 2 conferences and published in 2 journal articles. I've also received 3 national and international grants.
Well, congratulations once more. So we'll call on each one of you individually to come up to receive your award, starting with Ms. Kimberly Christine Kutzer from Stellenbosch University. I must say, that's actually a very beautiful shot there. Ms. Nadine Zita Tupisani from the University of Pretoria. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ms. Samantha Fulby from the University of Cape Town. Our next awardee is, of course, Ms. Jamie January from the University of the Western Cape. Our next recipient, Ms. Khomoditswe Malebu from the University of the Free State. Ms. Jacqueline Maputa is from the University of Pretoria. Ladies and gentlemen, our next awardee is Ms. Linda Matuta from the University of Johannesburg. Ms. Mateo Mita Chebane is from the University of Johannesburg as well. And our final recipient for this category, Ms. Nomtandazo Precious Biadzomo from Durban University of Technology. And time now for a group picture, all the ladies. You are supposed to be in that picture. much, ladies, and thanks so much, Dr. Tele, for helping us. And we send you off with love, but for the ladies, we have some bouquets. So thank you so much. So thank you so much, Ms. Khoza. And Dr. Musia, if I may inconvenience you, if you could please come up. We have that bouquet for you now, just to come and receive that. Thank you so much, Ms. Khoza. Right, I can't see Dr. Oh, there's Dr. Musia. Thank you so very much. All right, and we move now to the second category of awards for the evening, and these are for distinguished young women researchers. Now, these awards will be made to emerging women scientists under the age of 40, and it's for outstanding contribution to advancing science and building the knowledge base in their various areas of research. The winners in this category will each receive, they will receive a personal prize, the winner will, of 80,000 Rand. The first runner-up will receive a personal prize of 55,000 Rand, and the second runner-up will receive a personal prize of 30,000 Rand. Now, I'm not so sure if it's still a great idea to have told everybody to watch. You know, now they know you've got money. But all the same, these prizes will, of course, be transferred directly into the researchers' personal accounts. And I knew you'd love that. So it's going to be transferred directly into your account, and there's no restriction on how you spend it. All right, with that said, let's move now to the Distinguished Young Women Researchers Awards, and they'll be made in 3 categories: the humanities and social sciences, natural and engineering sciences, as well as public engagement with research. Ladies and gentlemen, to help us hand out these awards, please welcome onto stage Professor Priscilla Baker, a senior professor at UWC, L'Oreal UNESCO International Laureate for Africa and the Arab States, and also Professor Patience Mtunzigufa, who's a distinguished professor, UNISA President, FWIS South Africa. And again, just a reminder that both of these professors are actually SAWiSA alumni. So a round of applause for both of them. All right, here we go. So the first set of awards for Distinguished Young Women Researchers category will be made in humanities and social sciences. And as we'll do all night, we'll announce the finalists in alphabetical order. So a warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Associate Professor Jess Auerbach Jahajia from the University of Cape Town. There's our baby's coming. And we also have Dr. Maureen Rofiwa Musi from the University of Pretoria.
Hi, I'm Jess Auerbach Jahajia. I'm the Director of Inclusive Innovation, Ethics and the Light Lab at the University of Cape Town's Graduate School of Business. My research explores how knowledge infrastructure, such as fiber optic cables, hardware like computers, software like learning management systems, inform decolonial 21st century curricula and ways of thinking. My students and I ensure that Africa's needs are center stage in discussions of digital policy, of infrastructure, artificial intelligence, and knowledge futures. We've collaborated with global media, including the BBC, Rest of World, many others, to ensure that African technology workers are given recognition for keeping millions of people connected and informed about how the internet unfolds across the region.
Hello, I'm Dr. Maureen Musi, a senior lecturer and an advanced media specialist at the Nursing Sciences Department, University of Pretoria. Our project, Innovative Continuous Professional Development, is aimed at upskilling midwives and midwifery educators to manage obstetric emergencies and complications. Our achievements include strengthening interprofessional collaboration, enhancing technology-informed simulation-based learning, promoting social impact, improving maternal and neonatal outcomes, contributing to scientific evidence at 2 national and 2 international conferences, and being chosen as the top 10 young scientists at the BRICS Forum in Russia in 2023. Continuing postgraduate research supervision with outcome-linked mentorship and peer-reviewed international journal publications. And lastly, the University of Pretoria has nominated the project for the Teaching and Learning Awards.
A round of applause for the 2 ladies. And only 2 in this category, and I was speaking to Dr. Madiga earlier, and she was explaining to me just how stringent the criteria was, and there were so many entries, but of course, they have to keep the standards high. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for our first runner-up. Will be receiving 55,000, since there are only 2 people here in this category. And our first runner-up is okay, I think that's enough of a build-up. So our first runner-up this evening is Associate Professor Jess Auerbach-Jahajia from the University of Cape Town. Right, baby Nana is 55,000 Rand richer. And a future scientist right there, you know, keep this, because something tells me we're going to be looking for these in the archives in a few years' time. And of course, that means our winner for this category this evening, Dr. Maureen Rofiwa Musi from the University of Pretoria.
Winning this award will affirm our commitment to saving mothers' lives through innovative, skill-based midwifery training.
And just a group picture, please. Well, thank you so much to our winners. Dr. Musi, those people are so excited there. Something tells me you're going to pay for that round of applause. Moving along to the second set of awards in the Distinguished Young Women Researchers category. And this is going to be made in the Natural Science and Engineering Sciences. And I would like to call up on our 3 finalists once again in alphabetical order. Associate Professor Victoria Joy Madden from the University of Cape Town. Our next finalist is Professor Tebogo Mashifana from the University of South Africa. And our third finalist, Ms. Krista Robertson, on behalf of Professor Mahloro Hope Serepa Dlamini, who could not join us here tonight due to her inauguration event today at the University of Johannesburg.
I'm Tori Madden, an associate professor and director of the African Pain Research Initiative at the Neuroscience Institute and Department of Anesthesia and Perioperative Medicine at the University of Cape Town. 1 in 5 South Africans lives with chronic pain. At the African Pain Research Initiative, we study how pain emerges and why it becomes persistent in order to develop better treatment strategies. In our NIH-funded research with South Africans living with HIV, people were more distressed by chronic pain than by living with HIV, and supportive relationships were crucial. Our research showed that inflammatory markers had a different relationship to distress and pain compared to what has been found in other parts of the world.
I'm Tebogo Mashifana, Professor of Circular Economy at the University of South Africa in Gauteng. Our project is revolutionizing housing solutions. Imagine a world where building materials are sourced from waste, fostering a cleaner planet for future generations. We have developed sustainable, innovative, green, and climate-resilient building materials entirely from waste. We have developed prototypes. Our solution was recognized as an innovative clean technology solution that reduces environmental impact, lowers cost, and promotes circular economy principles.
I am Mahloro Hope Serepa Dlamini, a professor and the head of Department of Biotechnology and Food Technology at the University of Johannesburg in Gauteng province. Within our research group, we look at biotechnological potential of bacterial enzymes from indigenous medicinal plants, and we combine microscopy, molecular biology, and high-throughput genome sequencing to uncover novel bacterial traits. We discovered Bacillus dicomyi in 2023, a novel bacterial species contributing to microbial diversity and taxonomy, and we established national and international collaborations, enhancing our global visibility and relevance of indigenous knowledge systems.
A round of applause for our finalists, ladies and gentlemen. So, our second runner-up will walk away with 30,000 Rand is Professor Tebogo Mashifana from the University of South Africa. Our first runner-up, ladies and gentlemen, Associate Professor Victoria Joy Madden from the University of Cape Town. Well, she's a lucky lady, not just being inaugurated today, but obviously a winner as well at the 2025 SAWiSA Awards. Our winner in this category, Professor Mahloro Hope Serepa Dlamini from the University of Johannesburg. And thank you so much, Krista Robertson, for accepting this on her behalf. A group photo, please. Thank you so much, ladies. And now for the third and final set of awards in the Distinguished Young Women Researchers category, to be made under the theme Public Engagement with Research. And the Distinguished Young Women Researcher Public Engagement with Research receives prize money of 90,000 Rand. And there are no finalists. This is what technology will do to you. But fortunately, there's always old school as a backup. And this just proved the importance of having a backup all the time. So, as I was saying, there are no finalists in this particular category. It's a special theme award, and only the winner is being announced. So, ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause for the Distinguished Young Woman Researcher Award for Public Engagement with Research. And it goes to, okay, it says one, but there are two. So, and I'm told it's because it was so difficult to actually make a choice in this particular category. So both of these women, well deserving. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Professor Nomalungelo Gina from the University of Pretoria.
I am Professor Nomalungelo Gina from the Department of Nursing Science at the University of Pretoria. My research aims to improve the health and well-being of vulnerable populations, including rape survivors, women, children, and adolescents, through promoting access to health care. I raised public awareness about sexual assault in churches through Facebook and other platforms during the COVID-19 era. I also partnered with national organizations to co-develop community-based interventions that empower key stakeholders and teenagers to prevent teenage pregnancy, with a focus on implementation science and long-term sustainability.
Well, I'm told there is actually just you. You are the one. Professor Sepeng, please come forward.
Winning this award would give a voice to people in communities that stay silent about their struggles. And sharing research with the public can help bring real change to people's lives.
Well, congratulations, Professor Sepeng. And thanks so much to our esteemed guests on the stage, Professor Baker and Professor Mthunzi Kufa. And we appreciate you assisting us this evening, and a small token of our appreciation. R90,000. I need new friends, friends with money. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the fourth and last category of awards for the evening. And these are for distinguished women researchers. And these awards are made to women scientists and researchers who are actively involved in research, who have at least 5 years of postdoctoral experience and who have made an outstanding contribution to advancing science and building the knowledge base in their respective disciplines. And the winners here will receive a personal prize of 90,000 Rand. That's for the winner. The first runner-up, 65,000 Rand, and the second runner-ups will receive 40,000 Rand. And as someone was saying earlier about taxpayers' money well spent, Deputy Minister, I think this is taxpayers' money well spent. I don't think anyone will begrudge the winners this evening the money that they will receive. Now, again, no restrictions on the personal prizes, and the money will be paid directly into your bank accounts. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, 3 categories here: humanities and social sciences, natural and engineering sciences, as well as public engagement with research. And let me call on the Deputy Minister of the Departments of Science, Technology and Innovation, Ms. Nomalungelo Gina, and the Senior Advisor, STI at Auda NAPAD, Professor Branda Okolo, to come onto the stage to help us present these awards. Now, for the first set of awards under the Distinguished Women Researchers will be made in humanities and social sciences. And our finalists in alphabetical order are Professor Jill Hannes Hancock, South African Medical Research Council. Professor Shanaz Matthews is from the University of Pretoria. Oh, University of Cape Town, my apologies, University of Cape Town. And Professor Sarojini Naida is from the University of the Western Cape.
Hello, my name is Johanna Hancock, and I'm a Chief Specialist Scientist at the South African Medical Research Council in KwaZulu-Natal. My research focuses on advancing disability-inclusive HIV and GBV responses by linking data, policy, and practice to empower women with disabilities. I produce disability disaggregated data, pioneer research approaches such as the cost of disability methods, develop prototypes such as the Disability Awareness Toolkits for accessible healthcare, and the Breaking the Silence approach for inclusive sexuality education.
Hello, I'm Shanaz Matthews, a Professor of Public Health in Pediatrics and Child Health at the University of Cape Town. In 2019, my expert evidence in understanding the determinants and the effects of violence against women and children influenced the Constitutional Court ruling that the defense of reasonable chastisement is unconstitutional, thus protecting all children in South Africa from all forms of violent discipline in the home. My research into the determinants was also used extensively in the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, adopted by Cabinet in 2020, providing the roadmap to reduce and prevent violence.
My name is Sarojini Naida. I hold the Desmond Tutu Saatchi Chair in Religion and Social Justice here at the University of the Western Cape. The Tutu Chair examines how religious and cultural beliefs shape our world and how these beliefs both entrench injustice but also how they can advance human dignity. The main achievement of the Chair is our research on gender-based violence. This research critically examines the influence of religious worldviews on GBV. My latest book, Gender, Genocide, Gaza, shows how ancient sacred texts are still mobilized today by world leaders and by others to justify both political and gender-based violence.
Congratulations, ladies, and thanks for the wonderful work that you do. All right, I can see the nerves. All right, our second runner-up is from the University of Cape Town, Professor Shanaz Matthews. First runner-up, Professor Sarojini Nader from the University of the Western Cape. And that means our winner, of course, from the South African Medical Research Council, Professor Jill Hannes Hancock.
Winning this award would be more than a personal recognition. The firm's inclusive science amplifies disabled women voices and drives systematic change.
Group picture, ladies. And congratulations to all three of you. Professor Okolo and DM, I'm going to ask both of you to please remain, help us through. Moving on to the second set of awards this evening under the Distinguished Women Researchers will be in Natural and Engineering Sciences, and our finalists in alphabetical order. Professor Lucy Moluleki from the University of Pretoria. Our next finalist is from the University of Cape Town, Professor Brenda May Morrow. And our third finalist, Professor Alison Victoria September from the University of Cape Town.
I am Lucy Moluleki, a full professor at the University of Pretoria. The world is faced with serious crop challenges such as pressure on food security due to the growing world population, plant pathogens, climate change, and worsening droughts. Our project seeks to find innovative solutions for sustainable crop protection for potatoes, wheat, sugarcane, and sweet potatoes, by developing durable plant resistance, secondly, improving soil health through microbiome diversity and the use of plant waste towards a circular economy, and finally, by developing smart, non-destructive agriculture tools. Our project achievements include student training, industry partnerships, and interdisciplinary cutting-edge research.
My name is Brenda Morrow. I'm a full professor in the Department of Pediatrics and Child Health at the University of Cape Town. My research really aims at improving the prevention, awareness, and management of severe childhood illnesses, particularly in resource-limited and underserved settings. I've authored over 160 peer-reviewed papers, 21 book chapters, all of them focused on high-burden pediatric health conditions.
I'm also part of multiple global task forces that are working together to try and improve global child health care through science.
I am Alison September, a professor and deputy director of the Health Through Physical Activity, Lifestyle and Sports Research Centre at the University of Cape Town in the Western Cape. At GEMS, we are using genomics to improve our understanding of tendon and ligament injuries and helping to find better ways to prevent and treat these injuries in South African populations. We pioneered advanced genetic sequencing in musculoskeletal injuries. Using this data, we created a biomedical knowledge graph that reveals new genetic markers and potential drug targets to boost healing in connective tissues.
Ladies and gentlemen, I must say, just watching all of these short bios, I'm totally in awe of the work that the women in this room are doing. And they say generally when women are in the room, the collective IQ shoots up. Just generally. So you can imagine just how much more that is the case here tonight. I'm sure you agree, Prof. Thank you. All right, moving on to announcing the winners. So our second runner-up in this category is from the University of Cape Town, Professor Alison Victoria September. Our first runner-up, ladies and gentlemen. When we were going through these things earlier, no, I'm just playing. Our first runner-up is from the University of Pretoria, Professor Lucy Moluleki. You are the second place runner-up. That's our first runner-up. And that means our winner this evening. Please, ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause for Professor Brenda May Morrow from the University of Cape Town.
Winning this award would be the most wonderful recognition of my life's work that has been dedicated to improving child health across the world.
Well done, ladies. If we could please just have someone help Professor September off the stage there, please. Thank you so much, Professor. Now, on to the final category for the evening. So the third and final set of awards under the Distinguished Women Researchers category will be in public engagement with research. And the finalists for Distinguished Women Researchers category are Professor Carolyn Wendy McKinney from the University of Cape Town. And we also have Professor Zilungile Lenet Mkhize Kwichana from the University of South Africa.
Molweni Ndingu Carolyn McKinney, Professor at the School of Education, the University of Cape Town. My research has focused on how we are failing our children by ignoring their African languages in schooling. With my colleagues and students, I'm working on how we can fix this by implementing bilingual and multilingual pedagogies, which include both African languages and English. So far, we've developed new understandings of bi- and multilingualism and successful strategies for bilingual education.
I am Zilungile Mkhize Kwichana, a distinguished professor at the University of South Africa's Johannesburg Science Campus and honorary professor at University of KwaZulu-Natal. Our project, Immunology of Co-Infections, explores how neglected tropical diseases' immune effects impact HIV, TB, and cancer, thereby highlighting the intersection between immunity, infection, nutrition, microbiome, and social determinants of health. Our achievements include graduating 20 postgraduate students and postdoctoral fellows, mostly women from historically disadvantaged institutions, 11 book chapters, and 90 publications.
So ladies, as you hold hands, and I love it, because I love it when, women just hold each other up. I am glad to announce that both of you are winners. So, no second runner-up, no first runner-up. So, in this category, for humanities and social sciences. So this is for Distinguished Women Researcher, Public Engagement with Research in Humanities and Social Sciences. That award goes to Professor Carolyn Wendy McKinney of the University of Cape Town, and it comes with a check of 100,000 Rand. Prof. McKinney, please come up. Congratulations!
Winning the award will be a boost for mother tongue-based bilingual education and improving quality schooling in South Africa.
Congratulations, and what a fitting way to end the evening. Winner in the Distinguished Women Researchers category, Public Engagement with Research in Natural and Engineering Sciences, Professor Zilungile Lenet Mkhize Kwichana from the University of South Africa. 100,000 Rand for you as well.
Winning this award is an affirmation that my lifelong hard work and painful sacrifices were worth it.
Congratulations to all our winners, ladies. Continue doing the wonderful work that you are doing. Sorry there. And this is how we come to the end of the awards this evening. And as we said at the beginning, everyone is a winner. And congratulations. Another round of applause for all the awardees tonight. Thank you so much, Deputy Minister and Prof. Prof, we send you off with love as well. Thank you. And for the Deputy Minister. Whew. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, as we move to close this evening's proceedings, all right, we were going to do this afterwards, but before we send off the DM, perhaps if we can quickly just call all of the winners here tonight to come and take a family portrait, every single one of you. Please come up. my new friends, my moneyed friends. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the end of the evening, Dr. Tele, if you will join me up on the stage, please, just to give a vote of thanks to everyone here present this evening. I call you with love, and I'm going to send you off with love.
Okay, let me see. So, Sakina, you'll see the problem. Sorry, can we close, please, ladies and gentlemen? So, you haven't received your monies in your banks. And the only person who must still sign off is me, and you don't want to listen to me. So before I do what I've been asked to do, I've been asked to make two announcements. The first one is there was an early arithmetic question raised. I'm not responding to it directly, but I've been informed that we didn't have SAWiSA events between 2020 and 2022. Because we had COVID, we have now forgotten. So you'll do your own arithmetic calculations to check whether it doubles up, okay? So DVC, this is not a response to you. So, but a much more serious one, so that we, you know, as you are enjoying your savage, your sweets, you will understand. Deputy Minister, in 2001, 2006, 2011, Status A conducted a census focusing on mathematics. Oh, well, the question was which subjects were the most preferred in schools. It turned out that most girls who were doing between grades 3 and 7, their most favored subject was mathematics, right? So 3 studies by Status A. So last year, a group of statisticians, they also did a similar study, albeit in 3 schools. And they made similar observations that the 3 Status A studied. But the preference changes, and this is why it's important for all of you, because you are, you know, most of you are at universities, and you must answer this question, is that the preference that had been observed between grade 3 and 7 suddenly changes in grade 8 and declines precipitously by grade 12. So in other words, we need to understand why girl children change their preferences of mathematics. Something happens in our schooling system, which we need to understand. So now I'm doing what I've been asked to do. We need to acknowledge and thank you, Program Director Sakina Kamwenda, Ms. Sakina Kamwenda. We'd also like to thank the Deputy Minister, Dr. Nomalungelo Gina, the representative of the Executive Mayor of Mangaung Metropolitan Municipality, Councillor Mosala, the Special Advisor to the Minister Zimande, Mr. Ngaba Ngandela, and his team, our guest speaker, the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Roads, Dr. Nomakwezi Mzilikazi, the late Dr. Ivy Matsepe Kasapuri's family members, Ms. Dina Koza and Ms. Nzigi Matlawe, the winners and finalists and adjudicators, the L'Oreal South Africa representatives, Ms. Michele Kololo, the senior leaders of universities present, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the DSTI teams that made this night possible. I need to be, if the ambassadors and high commissioners of G20 partner countries present here, they are also being acknowledged. My brother, we highly appreciate your presence, representing the continent, and all the partners. I would also like to thank the following people or groups of people who have been working behind the scenes to create the right aura and ambience for the event, the Imvelo Safari Lodge staff for their hospitality and the delicious meals. I'm sure you'll agree with me. The musical entertainment by the Claire Rongen Band, and all the people involved in the logistics, lighting, and sound. Ladies and gentlemen, an event of this magnitude takes a long time, effort, planning by officials. Again, we would like to thank the staff of the department, and every SAWiSA event has set its own standards. Before concluding, I would like to mention two more things. The detailed profiles of today's finalists and winners are available on all various digital media platforms. And then because you've been behaving so well, except the program director who didn't give me a bouquet, we will have a television breakfast broadcast tomorrow morning featuring all the winners, the guest speaker and the deputy minister. Men are not invited. So this will take place at Sun Windmill Casino, Bloemfontein. For those invited, about 120 guests, please be seated by 6:55 a.m. So on behalf of the department and the minister, I wish you a pleasant evening and safe driving home. Good night.
And more love to Dr. Cele. But just to correct Dr. Cele, men are invited tomorrow morning. So, but of course, we want everyone to be ready and seated by 10 to 7, because we'll go live at 7. And also, there will be a book launch tomorrow. And I had the honor of, having a peek at it, and it is a really beautiful book, and I can see all of you featured in a similar book later on, because I think tonight is also about celebrating with all of you, and as I said earlier, hoping that young girls and young women could see themselves in you and be represented in the halls of power, in the lecture theaters, in our classrooms, and most importantly, in our history books. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for working with us here this evening to make this a success. Thanks to everybody who also assisted me throughout the evening. If I've offended anyone in any sort of way, I do apologize, no intent on my part. And if I misread or missaid your name, I apologize for that as well. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, just a quick one. Transport announcement. Both buses going to Windmill Casino and Premier Hotel. So, is that the announcement? So what are we saying? Are the buses available right now? Okay. So the buses to Windmill Casino and Premier Hotel are already available, ladies and gentlemen. But please enjoy your dessert. Congratulations once more to all the winners. And thank you so much for lending us your ears and, of course, your hands and eyes this evening. Thank you so much.